So Haydn C major cello concerto slow movement. I wanted to go over the kind of second half of the piece. So I like to start up bow. And one trick and then I change bow so that the phrase starts in the down bow once the cello takes over the melody. One thing I would suggest for students is to practice just the down bow part, maybe 1/4 note before. So think like 3 quarter notes, the half note, and the first quarter of the second measure on an up bow, and then change. And so that should be very minimalist. And then once the first beat starts, add a bit of sound. So practice slow bow, and so that you have plenty of bow for the 32nd notes. I'm using the Henley edition, different than the Rostropovich and Sadlo edition on International that I grew up with. So these are in the original. There are grace notes on those two, and there are practically no slurs in the cello solo part, but the soloist is expected to make a decision, so I advise my students what I think is a good idea. But I do like to make that separate for that reason. Then 4 slurred. Very important for classical phrasing. This is one thing I like to really zero in on in this piece, is all of these appoggiatura, C major chord, but you got the dissonance of the F that resolves to the E, and Haydn has decorated it. So not too much bow on the E. Then there's a lot of dialogue going on. Dialogue. Continuing. So I feel that's kind of connected. You go up to the high A, and then that voice resolves down, so it's not two voices talking. And one thing I had to mention was if there's not enough sound there, actually the orchestra, or if you're doing it with piano, comes in and you need to be heard a little bit. It's not like the C is solo cello, you gotta play it, but then different mood, of course, with the C minor. And this would be the start of kind of build up. You have this, you're coming out of C minor and going on the G, which I'm pretty sure this is a dominant chord, G major. But then he starts changing the harmony to intensify and to modulate up a step to D minor. So don't play the G too loud. Each one a bit more. And yeah, I looked at this right before I recorded, and I guess I made fingerings for somebody, which I was kind of trying to standardize it and making them a little bit safer fingerings. So I'm not going to necessarily, I'm going to make this up a little bit as I go along. But you have the same thing a couple of times, and it's nice to have a slightly different fingering. However, the IMC edition, I had forgotten, there's some stuff like going up on the D string, and I think this is not a very good idea. It's Rostropovich being, flashy or something, or anything. That's a fingering I gave to a student. I think I didn't want them to shift too much, but I don't like that. Like I've never played that fingering myself in a performance, so it feels kind of funny. Somewhere you'll need to come down. I guess the repeat, I don't just do echoes as like a simple thing, but here I think the echo is the best option. Certainly a different mood the second time. It's not, don't repeat it the same way. A bit more, but you're going to build. And this one, yeah, I think just really more important too. I don't change the dynamic that much. I think when I learned it, I did an echo there when I was a kid, but more just change the mood. It needs to sound more. One of them needs to sound more desperate or heartbroken or whatever adjective fits your conception of the piece. This one, okay, I will talk about the way that I wrote it in. The safest fingering I could think of is first finger on A and then thumb position there. On the D string, so that you don't have to, you just stay there. A slightly more advanced version of that would be to come down on the A string. Or, yeah. That's like the really, if you feel like you're having a bad day and you're going to miss it, or you just can't somehow get that shift, then just no slide, please. I did that, and that would be horrible. And you're there. And the most advanced way, I almost said best, it's not the best, but if you're secure enough, it can be kind of especially vulnerable or touching emotionally to go up with just the barest hint or no slide or the barest hint of one. I was telling a student the other day, just kind of let the bow drift so you have this ghost shift that nobody but you can hear, basically. And take lots of time, then feel like your hand is floating. Okay, I missed that one, but that time I just did it like totally no connection at all. I think I didn't listen to the recording, but I think Dupre recorded it with a bit of something like that. And that can also be just a bit of it's such a different mood. He cemented D minor for several measures, for about 8 measures in this piece. And then, yeah, it's F major 7 going to B flat and then modulating back to C eventually. So, and another thing with I'll just mention it since I always have to talk to students about this, learning this piece. When you have uneven bows, don't use the whole bow for everything. So, long note. Now, 3 times as fast. The first one was a dotted quarter, and then 2/16 equaling an eighth note. So 3 times as much, or 3 times less value of the note, but maybe use about half instead of a third. This is a slur by Haydn, but I break it because it's very long. I just try to make it really connected. Then yeah, and I'll take the opportunity to talk about phrasing a bit more. These upward appoggiaturas, don't lean into the syncopation. I hear a lot of students automatically playing. It's backwards. It needs to be on the beat because that's where the harmony inflection point is. So very light on that. And I had to explain to a student how to do this. So my thumb is on C and G, and I want to play a D. So first find the octave, then replace the third finger with your second finger, and a whole step to D. And you have to learn this, you just have to learn how far this is by doing it many times in tune. And another more advanced way that I do that is to have the thumb here on C and G. Now I'm going to play a D, so I put my first finger on the D string. A little out of tune still. And because obviously this is a stretch, if you can't do this stretch, then you should do a different finger. You should do a shift. But if you can do the stretch, then you can do an octave between 1 and 3. This is about the lowest position I do that. Below this, it's like I don't try to do D flat octave. That's a bit, I can do it, but it's unreliable. And if you can't do that, then just shift. It's not a... Of course, we don't want to hear it. That would be a bit nasty, I think, but Eva. I haven't done that in decades. And so when I did that fingering, I made more of a space. Doing the stretch means you don't have to do as much space because there's not a distance to cover. Same thing here with the low C. And I didn't talk to the student about this. A lot of times an orchestra will, sometimes we're a little theatrical about it, but if you just pluck the C string right before, it's a little easier, especially going all the way from the A to the C in a quiet, relatively quiet moment like this. But I can't do it without. I wouldn't. I tried it before, and I did up bow, and that was uncomfortable. It's a long time. It's a big movement in a very short time. Then the recap. You could do one time, the C is the same as at the beginning, starting on C. And maybe if you're going to do something different, you could start on the A string this time, but I'm just going to start on the same thing here. Same thing with the 2 grace notes. Always the second eighth note less. This one is reaching up, so a little different shape. but still the second D less, the second high D. That's not going to be perfectly in tune, but then sustain across up to the F. Again, a decorated appoggiatura. So on the beat. Now this shift, I needed to explain this to the students. So I'm ending on first finger G. If you learn the shift up one octave to G, then that's puts you in place for the thumb on C and F. And I was having trouble with this. I haven't played any fifths in a while recently. I've been doing orchestra stuff, and we don't typically do that. And the strings were getting a little false, I don't know. So, but it takes a lot of practice. Get the G, then get the perfect fourth with the C above it. And of course you'll need the F, the fifth, so yeah, that's not good enough. Might as well talk about this. You're holding the C, you have to find that C, but the actual interesting part is the inner voice, so you have to play two voices on the cello. Then with that A, it ends, and this top line takes over again, then drops back. I'm not sure. Yeah, that's not good. So I think here, third finger go. Then you've got to figure out the stretch back, which is to C, a fourth lower, which is equivalent to an octave F on the D string. So learn that interval. And I have students with a variety of hand sizes this semester, so some of them will need to stretch back and then kind of pivot backwards. It's not me, so I'm not used to doing it, so I can't do it in tune, but I just stretch, so. But if you can't, if the stretch is difficult, angle and then arch the hand back this way, rotate it back slightly. I'm exaggerating because I want to make sure the student understands what I'm saying to do. So I'm here, then I go down to third finger C after the D, and I want an octave there. Here's that stretch again. If the stretch doesn't work even with the kind of arching back, then shift from F to E and then play a major third. It's just that you'll have to learn the shift so that we don't hear, nobody wants to hear that either. So it sounds more like that instead. Where did we go? Oh yeah, I thought of it because then you have to do another C-F combo. So same thing. Even if you have a big hand and you can reach back, though, you need to immediately rebalance the hand on this finger. And I can stretch that, but again, you have to learn it. So if you can't, then just shift. I've messed up the bowing somehow, it doesn't really matter. Now this section is a little bit difficult for students often, so, and this is just a bowing I made up. I think I like it, sort of. You're on F, go back to E, because you're going to be rotating around or oscillating around 3 notes. So E down to C sharp. Each of the... Now I'm on D, second finger, I want to go to C natural, third finger. I always have to remind the students not to do a shortcut, really learn the shift. Second finger from D to B flat, and put down the third finger. So when after you learn it, same thing here, B flat, second finger to G. Then it's shifting up, and the shift up is you go from second finger up a fourth, I think every time. I mean the 3 times in a row. So on G, you go up to C. Shifting note in between is B flat. Now we're on B flat, and you're going to shift up to third finger E flat. So the shifting note is D. And these are half steps. Am I right? Oh, I actually never noticed this. This is the Urtext edition, and there's no C sharp there. Since I've always played a C sharp, it has C. It doesn't have an accidental. I've always played C sharp, so I'm not going to change that now for this. But so that's why I'm talking about 3 half steps. So now I will try it the way this is written. Yeah. It's one of those things where I'm so used to the C sharp that C natural sounds wrong. I think it sounds wrong kind of harmonically, music theory wise as well. But I'm also just used to hearing C sharp. So and I do a 1-1 on the, if you want to play C natural. Yeah, I guess I would change the fingering if I'm doing C natural as well. So I'll do my fingering, which is C sharp, first finger. Then you're in place for the F, which is not of course that's a minor third now, not a fourth. And the cadenza just for kind of a, I put the music sense so far away, I should know it from memory, but. And this cadenza, I'll just, if you're not aware of it, it's not in Haydn's handwriting, it's a different hand, but I guess the ink is from the same time period, around 1765-ish, 61 to 65, sometime around then. So somebody else wrote the cadenza, but somebody from that time period. This cadenza has a lot of triplets on the beat, appoggiaturas, and like a different decoration than Haydn usually did. So the beat is kind of... when I get the rhythm correct. Well, that was me too. I don't know, I couldn't see the other line so that it's fast. So that's a long note. And here I like to, even myself, it's not just for students, I guess I did that maybe when I was younger, but actually thumb I think works quite well. So thumb on F and B flat. You're not going to play B flat, but now first finger's on C, and that is a shift for, like, I wouldn't try to stretch it.